was your second point? Can you remind me your second point?
If there's some confusion as to what you guys were talking about, linking what to what.
No.
If I'm talking about what we were talking about, when the Sudanese government expelled the 13 aid organizations, it did it on the pretext that it said that the aid agencies that singled out were sharing information with the ICC. That's not the case. The groups deny it, the ICC denies it, but the government was able to draw that as a public propaganda statement.
My second question was, you said that the MSF only endorsed military intervention when the situations had gotten out of hand. And while you mentioned Rwanda as an example, you didn't mention Darfur. While Darfur obviously became a lot more complicated as the situation progressed, some intellectuals or scholars believe that at the beginning military intervention could have worked, and I wanted to know why the MSF never looked at that possibility.
Yes, actually we never looked at that possibility. We thought that there was no, although there was a context of extreme violence in Darfur, and we've been there since 2003, but we never thought that, well, first we've also learned our lesson from Rwanda. And, 15 years later, we don't think it was the right position to have for a humanitarian organization to call for military intervention. So we acknowledge that we've done it, but we don't think it's our role to do it. So we've learned our lessons first. And second, there was a temptation, and I think Rebecca has explained it very clearly, to cure our guilt, from our lack of action in Rwanda by trying to highlight the violence in Darfur and to use the genocide terminology. And we didn't believe that we could compare the Rwandese genocide with the Darfur situation. So these are the two reasons why our organizations did not take this stance and did not ask for any kind of intervention in Darfur. Although we've constantly advocated on this issue, we've tried to communicate, bear witness about the situation, and we've tried to provide the assistance that was needed, including in response to sexual violence that was going on there, and which is actually partly responsible for the resentment of President Bashir against the Dutch section of the border.
So I worked at ICC prosecution. I'm clearly in the pro-international justice camp, if I have to be categorized, although I would much prefer that there was a bigger push on using the ICC as it was originally designed to be, as a court of last resort that had the promise of inspiring, incentivizing, invigorating domestic systems to lift their game such that the case didn't get to the ICC. But I was really curious because I'd been to Chad and spoken with Darfur refugees pre-indictment, and just overwhelmingly positive, very much in favor of the ICC. And I wondered, getting into Darfur this time, if, given the way the government had linked the ICC and the expulsions, and to be clear, there shouldn't have been a link, they were just making it a link, I wondered if there'd be resentment. And I could very well understand a sense that, if there hadn't been the arrest warrant, someone thinking if there hadn't been the arrest warrant, then I would still have these services in my camp. And, obviously I'm one person, I couldn't get across all of Darfur and do anything representative. But what surprised me is the extent to which there didn't seem to be that kind of backlash. You either had people saying, no, we still fully support the court, or the shift that I saw, and this was really interesting, and for me, I guess the most heartening, was I had a really interesting long conversation with a couple of leaders in one camp, so leaders of the camp. And they said that before the arrest warrant for Bashir came out, they thought that the ICC would solve their problems. They thought, literally, and this is a sad indictment of the ICC's outreach in Darfur, which has been constricted by the Sudanese government, they thought that if an arrest warrant was issued against Bashir, he would be in The Hague. They thought it was as simple as that. There was it wasn't even a thought in their minds that you would have an arrest warrant come out and him still be running the country that they're living in. And so obviously the arrest warrant came out, he's still in power, and they've realised the reality that that brings. And so while they're saying we still support him, at least the people that I spoke to, we still support him going to The Hague, we want to see him being brought to justice, we no longer see the ICC as solving our problems for us. We're going to have to work at the local level on a whole lot of other issues. And I think that that's a positive development, recognition. It's unfortunate that it wasn't there before.